Hello, I'm Gabriel, I'm 18, and I am a boy.
Hi, I'm Alistair. I'm somewhere between 27 and 29, and I am a man.
Hi, I'm Emmy, I'm 6 or 7, and I'm a girl.
Hi, I'm Austin, I am 19, and I am non-binary.
So teenage girls self-diagnosing themselves with dissociative identity disorder on TikTok is now a thing that has, let me check this to make sure, 1.3 billion views on the hashtag DID, 486 million views on the hashtag DID system hashtags. So many of these people have different alters that like identify as different ages. Serious question, how do I know how old these people actually are? I don't want to be told that I'm harassing minors. I'm critiquing people and their ideas. Don't want to be told I'm harassing minors though. Not about that life. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ariel and I am the non-leftist lesbian that your woke friends told you to hate. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that if you keep watching my content, you'll find that we agree on more things than not. So many people are coming over to the dark side. Literally more people every day are subscribing to my channel. If you aren't already, click it now. One of the things that we agree on is that please don't go on any of these people's pages that I'm critiquing. This is not a breeding ground for bullying. It never has been, it never will. These videos are simply made to showcase what these people are doing and why it's wrong, and how they are perpetuating stereotypes and harming people that actually have these disorders. For those of you who don't know, DID is actually strongly linked with early life and childhood psychological trauma. I'm gonna make sure I get this right. Dissociation is a psychobiological state or trait that serves as a protection in response to said traumas. Professor Bethany Brand was quoted saying, DID is an identity disruption indicated by two or more distinct personality states with a discontinuity state of self. The DSM-5 states that there are 5 different types of dissociative identity disorders, but the majority of these TikTokers, of course, are just focusing on like the easiest one, general DID. To be specific here, the main issue that people are having is with the self-diagnosis of this disorder. Once again, the people claiming to have these disorders are mostly female, young, white, usually emo looking, possibly queer and trans identifying as well. And these people are claiming that they do not need a medical diagnosis. They simply declare to have the disorder and then so be it. They have it.
I'd like to start off by saying that self-diagnosis is extremely valid. Not every psychologist or therapist, especially in the US, has all this information on DID.
Let me be very clear here. This is a very serious medical or mental, whatever you want to call it, condition that requires a lot of observation. Unfortunately, more serious cases of dissociative identity disorder result in hospitalizations, watching for possible suicide attempts. Many times they have to stabilize the patient to prevent any self-destructive habits.
Would you consider it ableist to be able to use something that people cannot change about themselves, like a disability, to your advantage when it suits you, and yet throw it away the second it doesn't suit your needs, even though others actually can't pick and choose? Because that, my friends, is exactly what the fake disorder kids of TikTok have been doing, while screeching that everyone else is the problem.
Let's take a look at the facts here. The majority of actual dissociative identity disorder cases are aged 30 to 40 years old who have significant childhood trauma and a long history of mental health issues. All dissociative identity disorders comes from severe childhood trauma, usually starting at around the age of 7. So yeah, not the typical 15-year-old TikToker who's emo.
The culture on TikTok is so woke that they treat oppression and victimhood like currency on there. That's why you see people constantly inventing new letters in the LGBT alphabet and putting on new identities to try to spin a new way in which they're special or different or oppressed.
All right, listen, a few quick tips to not start dating someone who's faking DID. If they refuse to tell you where they're diagnosed or they can't come up with it on the top of their head, they're a liar. Don't date them. If they are under the age of 50 years old and they have full control over their switches to the point of asking which one you want to talk to, they're a liar.
Anyone else see the projection, the amount of projection in this TikTok alone? It's insane. The hypocrisy here, of course, is that these are the same people that will call out people for cultural appropriation, which like Stop. But of course, if you are a 17-year-old TikToker who is obsessed with being oppressed, who better to diagnose you than yourself? Using your supposed sick brain and claiming that it can come to some sort of concise diagnosis isn't making the sense you think it is. Also, notice how this is the same as being trans now. Like, all you have to do is say that you're trans and you're trans. All you have to do is say that you have DID or a mental disorder and you have it. And anyone who says otherwise is a bigot and doesn't have a say. I honestly wonder why it's so easy for these kids to show their supposed alters. Like, when dissociative identity disorder is itself a defense mechanism for projection. Listen to what this YouTuber who genuinely has DID had to say about this all.
And even then, if my alters are in a room full of strangers, because they're a defense mechanism, they're likely to continue to act like me. So it makes it practically impossible for others to tell that anything is different or untoward. For example, could you say 100% that you're talking to Jess right now? Or is it just another alter pretending to be me? Mystery.
The other big flag is that the majority of these girls that are claiming to have dissociative identity disorder are claiming that their alters are fictional characters, usually the same popular character within their friend group, cartoon characters, video game characters, fairies, trees, even animal alters.
Giving yourself up.
That they have to literally create issues to become oppressed.
I don't care if this was supposed to be a genuine question. This is full of ignorance. First of all, I am not a dog. We have a non-human alter in our system. He is a child. No, please stop sexualizing our alters.
Making any mental illness into, a party trick, let's say, does nothing but harm actual people who have these disorders. Stop talking for people that actually suffer from this. Whether this disorder is gender dysphoria, DID, Tourette's, anxiety. Yes, people are even faking having Tourette's on TikTok these days. Young women are apparently even developing tics from watching people that have fake tics on TikTok.
The DID community is dominated by the same gender intersectionalist and anti-racist as well. One educator with legitimate DID was shamed off the internet for one of her alters had a Spanish accent and she was white. Another genuine case was shamed offline after she completed treatment after 11 years. She was deemed to have gone to conversion therapy and then accused of killing her alter.
Now, as somebody who actually has an anxiety disorder, I can tell you this is super harmful. Now, I'm all about destigmatizing mental health and encouraging people not to have stigmas against therapy and getting the treatment that they need. But when people start faking it for woke clout on TikTok, that is not just bad because it means they might end up in treatment that they don't need, but it's also an insult to people who are struggling with real mental health issues, and it actually belittles the entire cause of destigmatizing mental health in the eyes of the public when some of these people get exposed for faking it.
Oh my god, I forgot to tell you, they even created a new sexual orientation with all of this. It is called plurosexuality. It's when a system, which is somebody that has DID, is only attracted to other systems, somebody else that has DID. So now that we established how these people are creating these identities and self-diagnosing, let's talk about why they're doing this. Why do these kids like the idea of being mentally ill, of being trans, of being LGBT, of having anxiety? Because to be honest, the only mental illness I see here is narcissism. And if we're gonna get deep for a second, I think if they're not narcissistic, the actual issue here is self-love. I think it always is.
A lot of this stems from self-love issue that we are currently seeing in society, especially among this current generation, because these kids, they don't necessarily know where they belong. They don't really have their identity. So when they find somewhere like the DID community or the trans community, for example, they will co-opt movements and they will say that they have it, even if they don't, because they think that society is going to cater to them now that they had this disability.
Most of these kids are at the age where you start forming your own identity, and they don't like themselves. In fact, most of them hate themselves. So they create all these other labels, all these gender identities, these sexualities, these mental disorders, these fake personalities, instead of working and creating an actual personality. Here's the truth, guys. People that actually have these disorders and illnesses don't want to be associated with these labels, because like myself, I have anxiety. I don't want to be associated with that label alone. I want to be seen as amazing despite having a mental health condition, not because of it. I'm going to end the video on this note.
Instead of focusing on the pretend people in your self-absorbed life, maybe focus on the real ones who can be impacted by your stupidity and stop being a danger to society. I'm not saying you're not mentally ill. I'm just suggesting that your lack of consideration for others is awfully narcissistic, and it seems like a lot less effort for you to act entitled and arrogant than it is to pretend you have a fragmented sense of self.